I think so far we had a fairly interesting morning. I didn't see anybody nodding, and I do hope we will continue, and I'm sure we'll continue the theme. However, I do think we'll even go gear higher. So without ado, I'd like to introduce you to Andrew. Andrew will give us a little bit of a different view, inspire us a bit. So Andrew, you've got the floor, and after Andrew, we will then go for, on the triangle, the material side, which is the sustenance. So there will be lunch on that corner. I think now we'll go on one of the other corners. Andrew, thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just doing this because I always forget my timer, and then you guys are going to kill me when we still get 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So good afternoon. It's an absolute pleasure and a gift to be talking to people that I used to sit on the other side of the lecture room and listen to you guys, and I've now got the opportunity to stand this side. What I really want to share with you guys today is just some ideas and concepts. My area of expertise is around human behavior. And I think fundamentally what we need to be looking at is, yes, technology is changing, and technology is moving at a rate that we can't even begin to imagine and comprehend. In fact, I think it's actually outstripping our ability to understand and utilize it. But we haven't changed that much. Yes, you know, back in 1956 we had Roger Bannister run a sub 4-minute mile, and before that all of the professors did calculations, and they had a look at the lung capacity, and they said, physically impossible, human beings don't have the anatomy, there's absolutely no way somebody can run sub 4 minutes. And then Roger Bannister ran sub 4 minutes, and within the next 6 weeks, humankind metamorphosized, and 22 people had the physical capability to run sub 4-minute miles. And as you guys all know, it's not even a qualifier for Olympics anymore. Sub 4 minutes is like, they're running it. I think some schools are probably running sub 4-minute miles. There's a Russian athlete up until not too long ago. He was lifting 599 pounds in a deadlift. And again, the scientists went and they looked at sinew and tissue and muscle and bone, and they said, absolutely no way a human being can lift anything more than 599 pounds. In fact, he's a human anomaly and nobody's going to be able to do it. Until his coach put 601 pounds on and didn't tell him. He lifted it. The record today is 720 pounds. So what is the limit? What is the potential of human, or what is our potential? What are we capable of achieving? I have an answer to that. And I say, if we believe it, then we'll see it. And I think that was pretty much highlighted by Roger Bannister's achievement, and then everybody did it. And the Russian athlete, and then everybody did it. So what are we capable of? Yes, we fundamentally haven't changed, but I think if we understand the fundamentals of how humans are and how we work, we can see 2 things. The first thing we need to understand is, yes, things are changing. Yes, we need to be putting a new curriculum in place, but we can view it in 2 ways. We can either see it as all these changes are in our way, and oh my goodness, how are we going to cope with this, and how are we going to deal with it, and what's it going to do to me, and how am I going to get through this, because my goodness, this is huge. Or we can just shift our mindset. The same thing's happening. The reality is change is happening. The reality is we need to change the curriculum. The reality is we need to move on. The reality is times are changing. The business cycle, the cycle of life is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And things that we were doing, in fact, they go back and they say jobs that exist today in 2004 didn't even exist. In 2015, who knows? And so we can look at this in our way, and how do we get through this? Or we can just change. We can shift slightly, and we can say, fantastic. These changes are on our way. They're on our way to a fantastic new future. They're on our way to creating something new, something wonderful and different and better. And then, of course, when something's on our way, we look at it and we say, what am I going to get from it? What is society going to get from these changes? What are the students going to get from these changes? And what am I going to get from these changes? Am I going to change? Am I going to learn? Am I going to innovate? Am I going to be creative and do things differently? And so it's the same thing, it's just a fundamental shift in how we think. And as Prof. Dan said earlier, and I think he's one of the visionaries that is kind of setting where we need to go, because we're going to arrive somewhere 5 years from now. My question to you is where? So it's either going to be where we see it, and we start taking actions, and we start changing the way we do things, and it's going to lead us to there, or we're going to be like a paper cup no, not a cup, a paper cup in a car park that kind of blows from side to side. And who knows where it's going to land up. It may land up where it needs to, but more likely than not, it's not going to land up where it needs to. So that's what you need to do. You need to take control, and you need to have a vision, and then you need to start doing something to get you there. And if you think about a GPS, okay, it needs two pieces of information. It triangulates and calculates where you are, and then you tell it where you want to go, and then the software inside does a whole lot of calculations and tells you the route to get you from one to the other. So if you don't know where you're going, it can't work. If you don't know where you are, it can't work. So fundamentally, that's all the information you need. You need those two basic pieces of information. Understand where you are, understand the position, understand what circumstances you're faced with right now, figure out where you've got to go, and then you need to just put a plan in place to get you from one to the other. Because if you don't know where you're going to go, where you're going to arrive. You know, you get to your driveway in the morning, and I don't know where I'm going. Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go straight? But if I have a plan, if I have a destination in mind, I know exactly where I can go, and I can move directly in that direction. And there's a number of geniuses in this room. But a genius without a roadmap will get lost in any city. And an idiot with a roadmap will get exactly to where they want to go. So that's what you people need to create. That's what you need to be doing, is create that roadmap that's going to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And most importantly, get those students to where they need to be. Because it's no good giving them a curriculum that's going to be outdated in 5 years. You need to give them stuff that's going to prepare them to be creative, to be innovative, to actually be the kind of people they need to be. Because when things start changing, when information and knowledge starts doubling all the time, where are they going to be? If success as an engineer, or success in life, was just about information, every one of us would have whatever we wanted, wouldn't it? Because you just got to go and log into Google, and you can literally type in anything, and out will pop the knowledge, out will pop the information. So it's not about just having information. It's not about just taking a whole lot of stuff and giving it to the students and saying, okay, go and learn the stuff. It's a lot deeper than that. It's about teaching them how to take that stuff and actually use it, apply it, turn it into something that's going to make a difference. So I think that's your responsibility, is to actually become a facilitator, become somebody that can awaken something in somebody, rather than somebody that just regurgitates stuff, or just says, well, here's a whole whack of knowledge, guys, off you go and use it. But take that watch apart. Show them how it works. Awaken that interest in people, because that's ultimately where it comes from. I mean, I studied engineering, and for many years I didn't use it. I did a number of things. I've been an entrepreneur in a number of businesses. 9 years ago I bought a factory. My God, when I walked in there the first day, I didn't know what most of those machines did. Okay? It was frightening. So the practical understanding of how all this works is crucially important as well. Now, one of the fundamentals I think we all lose sight of is, can I just ask a question? How many people sitting in this room have written down goals? Just by a show of hands. Written down goals. That's the norm. The reality is, now there's all sorts of questions about this study that was done. Back in the 50s, they took a group of graduating students, MBA students graduating from Harvard, and they asked them one question: who's got written down goals? Of that group graduating, 10% had written down goals. 10 years later, they went back and they re-examined and they looked at those students. The 10% that had written down goals were leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else. They were earning between 3 and 10 times as much in salary. Their promotions had been way higher. All around, their successes had just been accelerated. So the reality is, if you don't have goals, you have a plan. It's just a very bad one. So what is the one thing in life that we actually are the most terrified if someone doesn't know what the hell they're doing? I guess that's when we get on an aeroplane. Okay? So I want you to just quickly have a look at this video and tell me whether you would stay on board this plane.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you on board Flight 231, or is it 123 or 231? I'm really not sure. But it doesn't really matter, because we're going to just take off and fly a little east and fly a little south for a while and maybe a little west, and we'll just sort of get up into the jet stream and let it take us wherever it wants to. Oh, and by the way, I have absolutely no idea how much fuel we got on board, but of course that doesn't matter because we don't know where we're going.
Okay, then about you guys. I would be making wheel spins out of there getting off that aeroplane, alright? But you know what the scary part is? There's only one person sitting in this room right now that doesn't have that man in control of their lives. Because if you don't have written down goals and you don't have a plan, guess who's in control of your life right now? So you need to make a decision, and you need to say, right, if I want to achieve something, unless I have written down goals, and we all think we can keep them in our head, and the reality is, when you understand human behavior, you understand we've got this amazing tool in our head. I mean, it is 50 million times better than any computer processor that you'll ever get. It is an amazing, amazing tool. But it doesn't come with the operator's manual. So we don't understand that if we're not utilizing our brain properly, it's going to do the job that it's designed for. It is purely designed to take information in and keep us safe. And that's what it's going to do. So if you're not programming it to start looking for the right information, there's an amazing thing here at the base of your spine, just here. It's called the reticular activating system. It's a neural net a neural net of nerves that just sit over here. It's like your internal Google search engine. And if you're not telling your internal Google search engine what to look for, in other words, these are my goals, Google search engine, go out there and find the information that's going to help me to achieve those goals, guess what your Google search engine is going to do? Well, let's keep him safe, check the sunset, it's so cool. It's not actually going to be doing what it needs to do. So you need to program it. If I go in now onto a Google search and I type in cherries, is there any possibility it's going to come up with apples? Not a hope in hell, okay? And the same thing's true with this. If I'm not giving it any information, or I'm giving it the wrong information, there's no way it's going to go through. Do you know that we're exposed to 400 billion bits of information a second that are bombarding our brains, that are bombarding our bodies? I'm sure you've sat and put a tape recorder in the middle of a room, and then you listen to it afterwards. Have you just heard sound? How much sound actually comes into that medium from all sorts of directions? That's just sound. 400 billion bits of information bombarding our body per second. Our conscious brain, through this reticular activating system, can only interpret 2,000 of those per second. So now I don't have goals. I haven't programmed this thing. I have no idea what I'm looking for. So what's it doing? There's an amazing video. They've got 16 kids. They're dressed in different basketball uniforms. One group's dressed in white, other group's dressed in black. And they stand and they bounce the basketball backwards and forwards. And the instruction to the people in the room is, count how many times the white team bounces the basketball backwards and forwards. And of course they do that, and the exercise finishes. And you ask the question, well, how many times? And people go, 16. I mean, some people get up to like 35. But that's not the purpose of the exercise. The purpose of the exercise is the black gorilla. Guy dressed in a gorilla suit comes into the middle, stands like this, pulls a tongue, and does a forward roll out of this exercise. And you ask the people in the room, who saw the black gorilla? 1 out of 30 people saw the black gorilla. Why? Because they didn't program the reticular activating system to look for a black gorilla. You told them, count how many times the ball's bouncing. These kids are bouncing all over the place, and everybody counts the balls, but doesn't see the gorilla. So my question to you is, if you're not programming your brain, if you've got Captain Jones flying that ship, are you missing any black gorillas? How many black gorillas, how many opportunities, how many different, better ways of doing things that you're not seeing because you're not looking. Because there's 400 billion bits of information going whoosh, past every second. You're not asking your brain to find those 2,000. So it is crucially important that you change the statistic in the room, that you have a goal. Whatever that goal may be, but you have a direction and you have some way that you're going to program this neural net. Your little internal Google search engine needs information. It needs you to tell it what to do, because otherwise it's going to just do what it wants to do. Fundamentally, all this brain is a vessel. Okay? And all we do is we put information into it, and it's a means for us to take information out of it. And unfortunately, what also happens in life is we don't use our time as effectively and efficiently as we possibly can. We fill this vessel with lots of useless, dirty, pointless information. What is that pointless information? Well, we drive to work, and what do we hear on the way to work? It goes, good morning, this is the 8 o'clock news. You just won't believe it, but there's just been a hijacking in Lanseria at the moment. And there were 3 people shot and killed and murdered. And our brains are being filled with all this useless, pointless information. And not only that, but we're listening to pointless music. And what do? We get home at night and we turn the television on and we watch Days of Our Wives. And we think, wow, isn't this just amazing stuff? But we're not filling our vessels with positive information. This room is possibly different because all of you are in the sort of academic field, and I'm sure you fill your vessels with a lot of positive information. But fundamentally, we're still human beings, okay? We are still fundamentally people, whether we are academics or wherever we are. So we still behave and operate like people. So we need things like this talk to inspire us, to make us think a little bit differently, to shift the way that we do things so that we maybe do things a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more effectively. We think out the box. We start to view things as being on our way. Because we all have this victim mentality. We taught from children. By the age of 17, we're told the word no 30 times more than the word yes. So what do we culturally believe? That we are incapable of achieving things. We're incapable of doing things. Because what do we believe? No. No, we can't. So we need to just shift that in our heads. Like I said in the beginning, Roger Bannister, sub 4 minute, 22 people did it. Same thing. If you constantly believe, I can't, guess what? You're right, you can't. But if you change that belief and you start to think, yes, I can. Oh, definitely I can. Or even start off with, maybe I can. Possibly I can. Damn right I can. And that's where you need to start thinking. You need to start shifting your mindset from, I can't, I absolutely can. And if you have a look in front of you, I've given you a CD. It's called a Positive Affirmation CD. In this box, one of the CDs that are in here. That CD is to help you to start to do that. That CD is to start planting, creating belief inside yourself. How many of you have automatic negative thoughts, ants that run through your head? You doubt yourself. You think I can't. But in reality, if you just shift and you start to believe in yourself, things change. So what does this positive affirmation CD do? All it does is it plays alpha brainwave technology, where right now we're sitting in our brains are vibrating at a beta vibration. As we start going into sleep, or as we start coming out of sleep, our brainwaves are in an alpha brainwave modality, where it's vibrating at a slightly lower frequency and we're more able to absorb. So what this technology does is it plays alpha brainwave technology. In other words, it plays noise, music, whatever you want, that vibrates at that frequency. You put earphones in your ears, your brain gets fooled into vibrating in alpha brainwave technology, and you hear these positive affirmations coming to you saying, I'm a genius and I use my wisdom daily. Each day in every way I'm better and better. So what are you fundamentally doing? You're fundamentally creating, setting a tone inside yourself. I am great. I do believe in myself. I am a genius. I can achieve, have, do, and do anything. Try that technology. As Jim Rohn says, what if it is just an apple a day? but you don't eat that apple. And I stretch it today and I say, what if it is just that positive affirmation CD? You don't try it. Something to remember though, these shoes, I love them. They're brilliant. They fit me like gloves, okay? They're fantastic. But if you had to put them on, they may fit. I hope not. but fundamentally, okay, they may fit you, they may not. So what I'm trying to offer you today is a whole lot of invitations. Some ideas, some shoes will fit you, some shoes won't. But does that mean you shouldn't try them? No. So give them a try. Give that positive affirmation CD a try. I have seen amazing results in a wide spectrum of people's lives, purely by introducing that CD. Have a look inside. There's a little booklet inside there that tells you how to use the positive affirmation CD. Give it a try. If it's going to work, it may not. Everybody's different. If I've got an acorn in my hand here, and I said to you, so where's the oak tree? Is it inside the seed? Well, if I had to cut that seed in half and hold it over here, would there be an oak tree in there? Absolutely not. But if I take that acorn and I stick it into fertile soil and I give it moisture, I give it energy, and everything it needs, what's it going to do? It's going to grow into an oak tree. So what about your potential? What about what you're capable of? What about your little acorn? Are you willing to sort of take that out? Are you willing to plant it in fertile soil? Are you willing to feed it with the energy? Or, for example, this new curriculum. View that as your little acorn. Are you prepared to take that out, plant it in fertile soil, feed it with whatever it needs, and start to create lots and lots of little oak trees, lots and lots of new students with a different way of thinking, with a different way of doing the same thing? Because fundamentally, if you want the world to change, what can you change? Can you change the president? Well, maybe. Can you change interest rates? Possibly. Is it possible you can change the pace of change? Is it possible that you can change the massive fundamental changes that are going on that have actually brought you to this point that you've got to now change the curriculum? Hell no. What have you got 100% control over? What have you got 100% ability to change? One thing. You. So if that's all you have 100% control over, is there any point in worrying about things that are fundamentally unchangeable? You've got to change yourself. You've got to change within those parameters. You've got to accept the things you can change, and you've got to work within the things that you can't. So it's no good being a victim and going, oh my God, this is in my way. It's on your way, and get from the process. Because I read a lot of biographies, and it's absolutely astounding for me to see how many people, well, not how many, every single biography I've read has been filled with challenges. And very often it's those very challenges that have been the catalyst that have actually unlocked and turned that person into a super achiever. How many of you here know that Winston Churchill only became Prime Minister at 65? That man persisted, kept going until he became the Prime Minister. And he became the Prime Minister in one of the most volatile times in the UK history, and he's the most remembered, most revered Prime Minister. But let me tell you something, he failed at many elections. He was almost kicked out of the party at one stage. But did he give up? Can you ever fail? Is it possible to fail? How can you fail if you're still trying? You know, if you're still trying, and you're still persisting, and you're still trying, well, like a toddler, for example, how many times do you think a toddler falls down and gets up? And falls down and gets up? Well, as many as it takes, isn't it? Because every single person in the room is walking. So you are persistent. I know that you have everything that you need inside you to achieve everything that you need to do. Have you got any idea how hard it is to learn to walk? How many new neural connections you need to make in your brain? How you've got to teach yourself that walking is actually falling. It's controlled falling. You need to fall forward, throw your foot forward, lose balance and fall forward and do it again. It is unbelievable amount of neural connections that you need to make in your brain to teach yourself to walk. But every single person in this room is doing it. So I know that you have what it takes. But why do we lose that? Well, because by the age of 17, we heard the word no 30 times more than the word yes. So we lose that. And we start to believe that we can't. So I'm saying it's never too late to have a fantastic childhood. It's never too late to awaken that child, that persistent toddler that would never give up. Awaken that in you. And you can have, do, and be anything.